Ethan stepped carefully through the thick undergrowth of the alien jungle. The air was heavy, humid, and carried the scent of strange flowers and wet soil. Every step made a soft, squelching sound, but the jungle was alive with noises, calls of unseen creatures, the rustling of leaves, and the low hum of enormous insects. He had been sent on this planet to map its strange landscapes and study the wildlife, but even after weeks, he had not grown used to its dangers. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every sound could be a warning of something deadly nearby. Yet, he felt a thrill in the uncertainty, a spark of excitement that only a human explorer could understand. As he moved forward, he noticed something unusual. The tracks in the mud were not of any animal he recognized. They were humanoid, slender, long-limbed, but larger than a human. He crouched and studied them carefully. The footprints led deeper into the jungle, and he felt a mixture of curiosity and caution. Whoever or whatever had made these tracks was intelligent, and intelligence in a predator often meant danger. Ethan followed the trail for several hours, careful not to make a sound. Then, through a gap in the dense trees, he saw her. She was magnificent, standing tall and strong with a body built for both speed and strength. Her skin was a shimmering shade of blue, almost blending with the jungle shadows, and her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the sunlight that filtered through the canopy. She moved with purpose, her long fingers flexing as if ready to strike. Ethan froze, knowing that any sudden move could trigger an attack. The alien female, Lyra, as he would later learn her name, was not aware of him yet. She was focused on a creature snarling in front of her, a massive predator with jaws like steel and claws like knives. Ethan's heart raced as he watched. He could see the alien warrior's muscles tense, her tail balancing her movements, ready to dodge and strike. She had the predator cornered, but one wrong move could cost her life. Without thinking, Ethan picked up a sturdy branch and crept closer. When the predator lunged at Lyra, he swung the branch with all his strength, hitting the creature on the side of its head. The predator roared and stumbled, giving Lyra a chance to strike. With a swift movement, she drove a blade-like claw into the creature's neck. It fell silently and she turned, eyes flashing directly at Ethan. He froze, realizing she had seen him. Her gaze was intense, measuring, almost calculating. Ethan slowly raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "I didn't mean to interfere," he said softly, hoping she understood. Lyra studied him for a long moment. She stepped forward, circling him slowly. Ethan felt the power in her presence, the sense that she could end him in an instant if she wished. But there was also something else, a curiosity, a spark of recognition. She sniffed the air, then looked at him again. "You are different," she said in a voice that seemed to resonate in his mind rather than his ears. Ethan realized that she was communicating in some form of telepathy. "Most are weak, afraid. You are not." Ethan blinked, trying to find words. "I'm just trying to survive," he said. Lyra's eyes narrowed, then softened slightly. She circled him once more, then sat down on her haunches, still keeping a careful distance. Ethan understood that she was not immediately hostile, but he could not let his guard down. The jungle was unpredictable, and so was this alien warrior. Over the next few days, Ethan followed her at a distance. He watched as she hunted, navigated the dense forest, and communicated with her surroundings in ways he could barely comprehend. He tried to learn her patterns, her strengths, her weaknesses, but the more he observed, the more he realized he was not just witnessing survival. He was witnessing intelligence that surpassed anything he had seen before. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the jungle was bathed in a golden glow, Ethan found himself cornered by a pack of smaller predators. They were fast, coordinated, and hungry. He prepared to fight. But before he could react, a blur of blue and silver appeared. Lyra leapt between him and the predators, claws flashing, teeth bared, the pack scattered, fleeing into the shadows. She stood over Ethan, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "You are reckless," she said, almost scolding him. "You would have died." I didn't know what else to do," Ethan admitted, panting. Lyra studied him for a long time, then did something that surprised him. She stepped close and rubbed her hand gently on his shoulder. The touch sent a strange warmth through him. It was not threatening, but it was an assertion, a claim, a warning, a bond. Ethan felt an unfamiliar connection, a sense that he was now under her protection, and that this mark would signal to others that he was not to be harmed. Over the following days, Ethan noticed changes. Other female aliens, whom he had seen from afar, now kept their distance. He could feel their cautious glances, their hesitation. The scent Lyra had left on him acted as a shield, a silent message. This human belongs to her. It was a cultural act he did not fully understand, but its effects were clear. Despite the danger, Ethan felt a strange sense of belonging. He was no longer just a lone explorer in a hostile world. He had an ally, a protector, and perhaps something more. He began to understand Lyra's ways, her movements, her priorities. He learned to anticipate her reactions, to communicate through gestures and shared glances. Slowly, a bond formed, one built on mutual respect and survival instincts. But the jungle was not done testing them. One day, a rival female approached Ethan. She was tall, fierce, and her eyes burned with a challenge. She tested him, circling him, sniffing the air, assessing whether he was truly under Lyra's protection. Ethan felt a surge of fear. He was not a fighter like the aliens, and he relied on his wits and quick thinking. When she lunged at him, Ethan instinctively dodged, using the terrain to his advantage. Rocks, vines, and sudden drops became tools in his defense. Lyra arrived just in time, her movements precise and deadly. With a swift strike, she intervened, showing the rival female that her claim over Ethan was absolute. The rival retreated, and Ethan realized the depth of the bond he shared with Lyra. That night, as the jungle settled into silence, Ethan sat beside Lyra. He tried to speak, to express his gratitude and his awe, but words felt inadequate. Instead, he simply stayed close, observing her, learning her rhythms, sharing the quiet moment. Lyra, in turn, acknowledged his presence with a soft brush of her hand against his arm. It was not just protection, it was recognition, a promise of partnership, and perhaps a beginning of something neither of them fully understood. Ethan realized that on this alien world, survival was more than physical strength. It was about trust, intelligence, and forming connections in unexpected ways. He had entered the jungle as a lone human, cautious and curious. Now, he was part of a story far larger than himself, a story of courage, respect, and the extraordinary bond between two very different beings. The night passed quietly, but Ethan knew the jungle would not forgive carelessness. He would need to learn, adapt, and respect Lyra's ways if he hoped to survive. But for the first time, he felt that he was not just surviving, he was thriving. He had earned the attention and trust of one of the most formidable creatures he had ever met, and through her, he began to understand the remarkable strength of human potential, even in a world where humans were small and fragile. As the first light of dawn pierced through the canopy, Ethan and Lyra stood together, ready to face whatever the jungle would throw at them next. The bond was still fragile, but it was real. And Ethan knew deep in his heart that nothing would ever feel the same again. He belonged here now, not just as a human, but as someone claimed, protected, and acknowledged by an extraordinary alien warrior. The sun rose over the jungle, painting the sky with streaks of orange and gold. Ethan followed Lyra closely. careful not to step on broken branches or rustle the leaves too loudly. The jungle seemed calmer in the early light, but Ethan knew better. It was a false peace. Predators could strike at any moment, and rival factions of the alien race could appear without warning. Yet walking beside Lyra gave him a strange sense of safety, as if her presence alone made the dangers of the jungle smaller. Lyra moved with grace, her every step calculated. She paused now and then, sniffing the air, listening to sounds beyond Ethan's perception. He tried to imitate her, learning to notice details he would have missed before. The bond between them had deepened since she had rubbed her scent on him. Other females gave him space. Predators hesitated when they saw the two of them together, and even the environment seemed to respect their presence. They reached a clearing where a river cut through the jungle. The water was clear but moved swiftly, carrying debris from upstream. Lyra motioned for Ethan to stay back as she approached the riverbank. He watched her silently, studying her movements. She dipped her hands into the water, swirling it around, then sniffed the air. A faint grin appeared on her face. "There are others," she said, her voice echoing in his mind. "Rival groups nearby. They will test you again." Ethan nodded, though he felt a knot of worry in his stomach. He had survived one challenge with her help, but each encounter was more dangerous than the last. Still, he refused to show fear. Humans had a stubbornness that often surprised stronger creatures, and he intended to use it now. The first challenge came sooner than expected. A rival female appeared on the opposite side of the clearing, her body tense, eyes fixed on Ethan. She circled slowly, sniffing the air, testing his reaction. Ethan held his ground, recalling the lessons Lyra had taught him. Stay calm, move deliberately, and trust your instincts. The rival lunged. Ethan dodged instinctively, diving to the side. He grabbed a fallen branch, swinging it to keep her at bay. The alien's movements were fast, precise, and deadly, but Ethan relied on his agility and wit. He used the uneven terrain to his advantage, tripping her slightly and forcing her to adjust her stance. Lyra appeared at the last moment, her claws slicing through the air with deadly precision. The rival stumbled back, realizing that Ethan was under her protection. Lyra's scent marking had not only signaled her claim over Ethan, it had demonstrated to others that she would defend him fiercely. The rival female retreated, her eyes flashing with frustration and respect. Ethan exhaled, feeling his heartbeat slow. The adrenaline was still high, but he had survived again. Lyra approached him and brushed her hand against his arm, a gesture of approval and reassurance. He smiled faintly, feeling a connection that went beyond words. Over the next several days, Ethan adapted more fully to life in the jungle. He learned to track predators, find edible plants, and build simple shelters. Lyra guided him, teaching him techniques that had been honed over generations. In return, Ethan shared his own knowledge, ways to make traps, methods to purify water, and strategies to navigate the terrain more efficiently. Together, they became a formidable team, combining alien strength and human ingenuity. One afternoon, as they rested near a waterfall, Ethan spoke quietly. "Lyra, why me? Why did you choose to mark me?" Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting the sunlight. "You are not like the others," she said. "You are strong in ways they are not. You think, adapt, and survive. You respect life, and yet you fight to protect it. That is rare." Ethan nodded, understanding her words more than he could express. In the human world, survival often relied on quick thinking and courage. On this planet, those traits were equally vital, but they were rare among the dominant species. Lyra had recognized something in him that went beyond physical ability. Their partnership was tested again when a larger threat appeared. A group of alien warriors intent on claiming the territory and challenging Lyra's authority. This time, The confrontation was unavoidable. Ethan and Lyra positioned themselves strategically. Ethan observed from behind a ridge, noting the terrain and planning possible escape routes. Lyra moved silently, her presence commanding respect and fear. The rival group approached, their movements coordinated and aggressive. Ethan could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken challenge between the warriors. He knew that his survival depended not just on Lyra's strength, but on his ability to think and act quickly. When the first attacker lunged, Ethan shouted a warning to Lyra. She dodged effortlessly and countered with precision, striking the alien down. Ethan used a combination of fallen branches and rocks to distract the others, creating openings for Lyra to strike. The battle was intense, but the humans' unique problem-solving skills gave them an unexpected advantage. One by one, the rival warriors fell or retreated. Ethan realized that humans could survive in ways that aliens did not expect, through creativity, adaptability, and collaboration. He had proven that being human did not mean being weak. It meant being unpredictable and resilient. After the battle, Lyra approached Ethan, her expression softening. She rubbed her hand on his shoulder again, reinforcing the bond that no one else could challenge. Ethan felt a deep sense of belonging. He was no longer a stranger in this alien world. He was claimed, protected, and respected. Days passed, and the jungle slowly returned to a fragile calm. Ethan and Lyra continued their exploration, learning more about the planet and its inhabitants. They discovered new species, mapped dangerous regions, and encountered other intelligent creatures. Each challenge strengthened their bond, proving that trust and cooperation were as important as strength and skill. One evening, as they rested under the stars, Ethan looked at Lyra. "I never imagined I'd find someone like you, or a world like this," he said softly. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "And I never imagined a human could survive here, let alone earn my trust," she replied. Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of pride and wonder. He had entered the jungle as a lone explorer, unsure of what awaited him. Now he was part of a story larger than himself, a story of courage, intelligence, and a bond that transcended species. Their nights became a time of quiet learning. Ethan observed Lyra's rituals, her hunting techniques, and the way she communicated with her environment. He began to anticipate her needs, and in return, she adjusted to his ways. Together, they formed a unique partnership, blending human ingenuity with alien strength. The jungle still held dangers, but Ethan faced them with confidence. He had learned to respect the planet, its creatures, and the customs of its dominant species. Most importantly, he had learned the value of trust and loyalty. Lyra had chosen to claim him, but it was not a claim of possession. It was a recognition of his worth, his bravery, and his humanity. In time, other females of the alien species began to accept Ethan's presence. They no longer approached with aggression, but with cautious respect. The scent Lyra had left on him served as a silent reminder of the bond they shared. Ethan understood that he had become more than a survivor. He had become a participant in this world's complex social order. As they moved through the jungle one morning, Ethan realized how much he had changed. He was stronger, wiser, and more aware of his surroundings. He had adapted to an alien world, formed a deep connection with a powerful being, and discovered the extraordinary potential of humans when faced with challenges far beyond their normal experience. Lyra glanced at him and tilted her head. "You are no longer just a human," she said. "You are part of this world, and you belong with me." Ethan felt a rush of emotion, pride, awe, and something deeper he could not yet name. He knew that their journey was far from over, but he also knew that together they could face anything. He had earned his place beside Lyra, not through strength alone, but through courage, intelligence, and the human ability to adapt and endure. The jungle stretched endlessly before them, filled with unknown challenges and hidden wonders. But for the first time, Ethan felt truly ready. He was no longer just surviving, he was thriving. And with Lyra by his side, he knew that the story of the human in the alien world was only beginning. As the sun rose higher, casting light on the leaves and the sparkling river, Ethan and Lyra moved forward together. Each step strengthened their bond, each challenge tested their abilities, and each moment deepened their understanding of each other. The jungle was vast and dangerous, but it was also a place of discovery, growth, and connection. Ethan had started his journey alone, unsure of what the alien world would demand of him. Now he was part of something greater, a partnership that blended courage, intelligence, and trust in ways that neither species could have anticipated. And in the heart of the alien jungle, Ethan knew he had found more than survival. He had found purpose, connection, and a bond that would endure through every trial the world could throw at them. The human had become extraordinary, not by alien standards, but by being fully, boldly, and unapologetically human.